You are listening to The Standards Desk of News from The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards with Matthew Childs and Cindy Parakill.
The Standards Desk of News is where we take a brief look at some of the news about standards and standards in the news. You can find the links to some of the featured stories in the show notes. And the show notes are also where you can find details of our socials and all of the other ways to get in touch with us here on The Standard Show. Hey, Cindy Parakill.
Hey, Matthew Childs.
Well, shall we have the Standards Desk of News?
Yep, let's do it.
Yes, this is the Standards Desk of News. News about standards and standards in the news. And a slightly bigger edition, as this time we are covering stories across 2 months, December 2023 and January 2024.
And we start with COP28.
The Conference of the Parties, better known as COP, is the decision-making body of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The 28th COP took place in Dubai back in December, and standards were once again part of the story. ISO announced a key partnership with the IFRS Foundation, marking a significant step towards aligning international financial reporting and sustainability standards. ISO also reaffirmed its joint commitment with UNIDO for inclusive and sustainable industrial development and economic growth through international standards. And building on the launch of the ISO Net Zero guidelines at COP27, COP28 saw the launch of some new climate standards. ISO 14068-1, giving a standardised approach for achieving and demonstrating carbon neutrality in the transition to net zero, replacing PAS 2060, which was developed by BSI. And ISO 19870 on hydrogen technologies, a technical specification providing an international methodology for assessing the greenhouse gas emissions of the production, conditioning and transport of hydrogen. Now, a new era for standards for quantum technologies.
ISO and IEC have announced the establishment of a new Joint Technical Committee on Quantum Technologies, ISO IEC JTC3. Quantum technology works by using the principles of quantum mechanics, the physics of subatomic particles. If you are listening to this podcast on a smartphone, then the chances are the semiconductors in it are using quantum physics. JTCs and their subcommittees focus on the development, maintenance, promotion, and facilitation of information technology standards. The scope of this new ISO IEC JTC is to develop standards in a range of areas, including quantum computing, simulation, metrology, and quantum communications. CATS, the national standards body for South Korea, will assume the chair position, and BSI will hold the secretariat. A new standard for safe AI.
It's been a remarkable 12 months or so for AI. From something we never really talked about to something we don't seem to be able to stop talking about. But in fact, it's something we've all got used to without really realising it. Medical diagnoses, self-driving cars, digital assistants, just a few examples of products that already benefit from AI. But it's the pace of change in AI that has got everybody talking. BSI's recent Trust in AI poll of 10,000 adults in 9 countries found that 60% wanted international guidelines to enable the safe use of AI. The research also found that closing the AI confidence gap and building trust in the technology is key to powering its benefits for society and the planet. Consumers and industry need to be confident that in the race to develop these new technologies, we're not embedding discrimination, safety blind spots, or loss of privacy. So it's a warm welcome to ISO 42001, the new management system standard designed to enable the safe, secure, and responsible use of AI. Published in late December, the standard gives organisations a structured way to manage risks and opportunities associated with AI, balancing the desire to innovate with the responsibility for good governance. Now, ISO 42001 is a standard we first trailed on the Standards Desk of News back in August last year, and one that we covered in detail in episode 130. Check it out in the feed. Standards for swappable batteries.
January saw the launch of Stand for Swap, a 2-year project funded by the Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Programme, which will develop a standardization roadmap for swappable battery systems for lightweight category electric vehicles. Battery swapping is an innovative system allowing electric vehicle owners to swap out their empty batteries for fully charged ones in a matter of minutes. It has the potential to revolutionize electric mobility, facilitating the widespread adoption of electric vehicles. In turn, this will help to decarbonize transport, especially in urban areas, taking a significant step towards meeting the EU carbon neutrality targets. Important update for European Toy Safety Standard.
A new version of EN 71-1 Safety of Toys Flammability has been published. It sets out the categories of flammable materials which are prohibited in all toys and specifies requirements concerning flammability of certain toys when they are subjected to a small source of ignition. The aim of the update is to improve the safety of toys by bringing a consistent approach to flammability testing of all types of toys. The changes to this standard will be of interest to toy designers and manufacturers and those responsible stakeholders in toy production, sale and supply. And parents and children too, I should think. And finally, have your say on chainsaws.
Toys to chainsaws. That's a hell of a segue.
I know, right? Lovely.
So, the standard ISO 6531, a vocabulary for portable chainsaws, is at the draft for public consultation stage. The document defines terms relating to the mechanical aspects of portable chainsaws, saw chain, and guide bars. Chop chop though, if you want to get involved, the commenting period closes soon.
A story that really cuts through there, Sydney Parakill, don't you think? And finally, December saw the publication of the second episode of the standard show Latino America. Latino America is all you've come to expect from the standard show, but with a special Latin American focus and flavour. And of course, language too. Episodes are in Spanish and Portuguese and are hosted by Andrea Sandy. In this second episode, Andy looks at standards and consumer representation in Costa Rica. Check it out in the feed. Now, a reminder that you can find links to some of the stories we have featured today in the show notes. And the show notes are also where you can find details of our socials and all the other ways to get in touch with us here on The Standard Show. Well, thank you, Sydney Parakill.
Thank you, Matthew Childs.
For December 2023 and January 2024, that's the Standards Desk of News.
You have been listening to The Standards Desk of News from The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.